go ahead and raise your questions. We can raise your hand. We can start with questions. We can go with John in the front.
Dave, who do you think is more to blame for the bad start? The players as a whole or Rob Thomson?
Well, this isn't a blame game. I don't, that's not that. We collectively are not doing well. This is a whole group. I don't think we're playing very well from an offensive, defensive, pitching performance. I don't think we're playing up to our capabilities. Squad together just has not done very well. You can blame whomever you choose to do, but for us, we don't really do that. Rob, it's like the rest of us. You bear responsibilities. I talk to him every single day, but just the way things were going are not going well enough. I don't think we're playing up to our capabilities. I think we're a much better club than we played, and so you make some decisions that are tough at times.
Let's go to Matt in the back left.
Dave, when did you make this decision to fire Rob?
Well, first of all, Rob Thomson, I talked to him this morning, as I talk to him every day during the season. We had a very warm conversation, and from my perspective, he's a wonderful person. He's done so much for this organization. I thanked him for it. John Middleton came in after we were done, wanted to make sure that Rob Thomson, and I had thought about it this time, offer him if he wanted to be a special assistant right away, but I think he probably get away and get a break was probably the best thing for him. But as John Middleton told him, he said, you've seen some of the other moves. You're always welcome part of this organization, some of the other people that have left. And I'm sure when he comes back, he'll get a deserved standing ovation from the fans. He's a wonderful person, done a lot, works hard, very conscientious. But I think at this time I felt that we needed a new voice in there, a little different feeling in the clubhouse at this point. Rob was the first to admit that he doesn't know what's really going on. He's a little bit surprised on how we performed. I know you're going to have a Zoom with him later on, but he's been a little bit surprised. But I just thought at this time was the right time to get a different voice with some different direction, with a lot of the common, of course, Don's been part of our staff here all along, so he's got a pulse of his feelings on how we can perhaps improve a little bit here, a little bit there. Just a different overall as anybody would be coming in. But I think it was just that we needed a different voice in there. And a few years ago, 4 years ago, he was the right voice for us with the club that we had. There was no question about it, and he's done it very well. I think we needed a different voice with this group where we are right now.
Did you try to hire Alex Cora, and why?
Yeah, I did. I talked to Alex. We never got down to the nuts and bolts of things because but I did talk to him. I mean, he actually called me Saturday night. He just called me as a friend Saturday night after he had heard about it because I guess he calls me one of his mentors, and we talked, and he had never been through that before. We talked on Sunday morning. I think Alex Cora is one of the finest managers in the game of baseball. I say I've been fortunate enough to work with Hall of Fame managers like Tony La Russa and Jim Leland. I've been very fortunate in my career. I think if Alex Cora decides to keep managing, he has a chance to be in that same category. That's how good he is. And I talked to him on Sunday morning. We talked about potentially taking the job. I thought I had told him I'd really come to the conclusion at that point that if he took it, I was going to make a change. And I thought that he might take it. But as time went on over the next day into Monday morning, it was apparent from his perspective that he wanted to take time with his family. And he's paid for, and it wasn't because of pay, it wasn't because he's paid through the next year, but he just felt that he wanted at this point to be a father first and foremost. And so that's what he had decided.
Okay, let's go to Cole in the middle.
Dave, I know in the offseason, Don said that his managerial days were likely behind him. What was that deliberation and dialogue like with Don, and was there any pushback from him?
Well, so what we did is, I talked to Alex. I had a staff meeting planned all along. When I say staff meeting, some of you've observed, we've had some of our scouts in town, our trusted lieutenants, since last Friday. Joined in Atlanta. They're staying through the San Francisco series. I had people in the front office that I had already asked to be part of that meeting, mostly assistant general managers, but different perspectives. And really the reason I asked those guys to come into Atlanta is I said, I want to check myself as much. We have not played very well. Are we, is this the type of club we are? Are we, is this us? I mean, realistically, we haven't played well in any part of it. Falls on my responsibility, all of our responsibilities, I'll take it. But I said I'd like to hear some other voices. You watch other clubs play, you watch how they go about their business, the talent that's out there. We talked, we had planned on getting together Monday afternoon, which we did at 1 o'clock. Those guys along with the front office staff, and we talked about a lot of different things, how the club was playing. Alex wasn't going to take the job at that point. Should we still make a change? What other alternatives we should be? And we came to the conclusion, I came to the final conclusion that we were going to make a change. I think it was the best for the club, that the ideal person to step in at that point. And you're at this time of year, unless you would hire somebody like an Alex Cora, you're going to hire an interim, because otherwise you need to go through an interview process. And so at that point, we agreed that the best person for that job would be Don. And I didn't know how he would respond, and I called him up and asked him, I'd like to decide to make a change. You're the first person that has come to the mind is from an interim perspective in that regard, and I'm asking you if he would take the job. And he said, I'll do that for the organization for sure, and I'll do it with. I said, are you okay with it, full speed? He said, yes, I am. I'm ready to tackle it. I'll tackle it full speed. I'm ready to go. And so that's how the conversation went.
Okay, let's go to Dan in the middle.
The win-loss record is obviously the final arbiter of the decision, but what would you like to see more from Rob? Is there something you feel like he could have done to change this around?
I'm just going to leave it. I mean, Rob Thomson has done a good job for us, and I'm not going to ask anything more in that. He's done a fine job. And he has his style, he has his methods, he has his ways. Right now, I just think this group here needed a different voice. It just wasn't working, and I'm not putting it all on his back by any means, and I told him that, and we hugged in a very open conversation this morning. But we'll leave it at that for him.
Just to piggyback on that last question, I mean, when Don was hired here, he said he had no interest in managing again. I don't have the energy for that anymore. I mean, do you feel something's changed? Is he doing this out of obligation? Does you feel like he's really?
Well, probably when he came on board, that maybe was his thought. I didn't think we'd be 9-19 either, so we weren't thinking of him managing at that point. But I've seen him around here. He has plenty of energy. Now, normally when you're talking about, if you were talking about managing, you'd be talking about the long term, and I did not ask him to manage the long term. I asked him to manage this season, and who knows what goes beyond this year. But I think he has plenty of energy, and he had not planned on managing. But I think, first of all, I asked him to do it, and he's part of the organization, just like when I asked Dusty Wathan today when we called him, and it was Don's decision that he'd like him as his bench coach. And he said, Dave, I'm part of this organization. I'll do anything you want me to do. I said, we'd like you to be the bench coach, but if you want to be the bench coach, and he said, no, I'm ready to do it. And that's how Don responded, and we're not asking him at this point to manage for 5 years. I'd like him manage us successfully the rest of this season, and I think he has enough energy. In fact, I'm sure he has enough energy. I've watched him chase his 11-year-old son around plenty and play ball with him and what he brings to the ballpark every day, so I'm sure he has that.
Dave, was there consideration to making any other changes to the coaching staff, subtractions, et cetera?
There was not. And basically, when I talked to Don, I asked him how he felt about our staff. Because if he had a strong feeling, since he was stepping in, is there any other changes he wanted to make? He said, no, I like our staff. I think it's good. He said, we know we needed a bench coach, how we would go about that. I said, you think about that. He called me back later in the day and decided this is what he wanted to do, and to promote AC, who was very deserving to be our third base coach. But I asked him, is there any other changes you want to make? And he said, no, I like our staff. I'm ready to work with them and would like the opportunity to do so. So I said, okay, let's go for it.
Also, the last 4 years or so, there's been a lot of continuity here in terms of everything, right? Roster, staff, et cetera. Mm-hmm. After going through a period of such continuity, do you think a change like this resonates even more, being that, it's the manager and it's a big shakeup?
Well, I can't say it resonates more, because I think anytime you make changes of this magnitude, it resonates a lot, no matter when you do it. Rob Thompson is very well respected in the clubhouse. I know that. The players like him, and deservedly so, and they've accomplished a lot together. But I can't say, maybe a little more because they know him better, because they've been together for a long time period. But I think anytime you make a move of this sort, it's a big change, and I think it resonates a lot inside a clubhouse.
Dave, coming into this season, obviously championship goals, it has been here for the last 4 or 5 years. After 30 or so games and getting a chance to reflect on this first month or so of the season, do you think those are still realistic expectations as with this roster?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we won 90, 95, 96 games. And I know people say, it's not age that has caught up to us. People I see right now, our guys are not aged out by any means. Some of the guys that aren't even our more veteran guys aren't having a good start to the season. I mean, it's just, that would be an inappropriate statement to me. In fact, some of the guys they're having the better seasons of anybody. But if we play the way we are playing now, we're not. But I do think we're better than this, and that's when I asked our guys to come in and talked about it. And do we feel that way? Do you feel that? And unanimously, the feeling was we're a much better club than this. We watched the other clubs play around baseball. This club is I don't want to say as talented as most. We just have not played that way. So if we don't play that way, we won't. We have to play better in every way. Do I think we can play better? I hope so. If not, then we'll all have made a mistake. And I want to say all, not yourselves. I'm talking about us.
Dave, the roster has underperformed. You've acknowledged that in Wrigley the other day. Do you have any regrets about the construction of the roster, maybe the approach over the winter? You mentioned not having a cleanup hitter the other day, things like that.
Well, when I was asked, we didn't clean it. Nobody's performed as a cleanup hitter. We've had people that have performed in the past as cleanup hitters, so they're not doing that right now. So no, I don't have any regrets. I mean, if we play this way the rest of the year, I'll have a lot of regrets at the end of the year. But I think we're a lot better than this. And I mean, I think it's one of those. I've always said you can always be better. If we win 96 games, you can be better than next year. There's no perfect club. I think we have a good club. I mean, I don't know that anybody here or anywhere else, I just saw our starting pitching has not been good. I mean, now we've got Zach Wheeler back, and that helps a lot. But I don't know anybody that would think that this would not be a good starting pitching rotation. It's to me, might be the best in baseball. Could be as good as anybody's. Our bullpen's strong. We lost our closer, but he'll be back soon. We haven't scored runs. We haven't hit. I can't predict that some of these guys would have performed the way they have. But no, roster construction, I don't think we have a gaping hole. We knew that we were going to go in. We were prepared to go into center field with a youngster and let him grow. And I don't have a regret in that regard. You need to do that to some. The same thing with Andrew Painter as a fifth starter. I don't have a regret. I'm hopeful some of the guys that we have will pick it up from an offensive perspective. I think that they can.
In the past week or 10 days, you have literally played the two hottest teams in baseball, the Cubs and the Braves, over and over. Was there any thought to viewing this off day yesterday as a potential reset while looking ahead that the schedule does not feature red-hot teams coming up, and maybe things could right themselves? And did you back off that? If you had that idea, did you back off it because of Cora's availability?
Well, was there any thought to that? Yes. I mean, we talked about a lot of different things, and that came up in the conversations. I would hope that we're talking about us as a club in the same light that you're talking about the Braves and the Cubs. But we're not right now. But when we did talk about that, we just felt that if we kept waiting and it didn't fix itself, I just think that at this point something needed to be done in watching us play. And did we discuss that, though? Yeah, we discussed that.
Dave, given some of the shortcomings, whether it's in roster construction or production, why do you think Phillies fans should still believe that you're the right person to lead the front office?
You can answer that question. I'm not going to get into that.
As far as Aaron Nola, he struggled early on this season, after struggling last season. What do you see from him that makes you think he can bounce back going forward?
Well, he's still got good arm strength. His arm strength is still there, by all means. And that's usually a key situation. I mean, if his velocity was way down, that would be one thing. His velocity's still up. He probably has to make some adjustments with his pitch mix and and I think he can do that. So I think that that's the potential that he can bounce back. If his arm strength wasn't there, I'd be a lot more questionable, but it is. His breaking ball's still good. Maybe he has to use that a little bit more right off the bat. You know, falling behind the count a little bit more, maybe that has to do with the ABS system and pitching a little differently. I think he's smart enough and works hard enough and has enough ability that he can bounce back.
Dave, you said a lot of nice things about Rob. You guys have won together. You have a lot of wonderful memories together. How difficult was this decision?
Well, it was tough. I mean, anytime you make a change, but we've worked together a long time. He's a tremendous individual. I like him. I like his family. I've got to know them throughout the time period. We talk every day. In the wintertime, we basically talk every day. There was a time this winter where we had a big storm, and where I lived in Nashville, and I hadn't talked to him in 3 days or so because our phones weren't working, and all of a sudden he just picked up the phone to call me and said, geez, I haven't heard from you in a couple of days. I said, well, my phones don't work. That's why they just start working. So it's hard, but it's part of the business. You know, it's part of those, and you have to make the decisions that you think is the right for the organization, and that's why it's tough, but you need to do those things in my role.
If I can follow up with the team real quickly. Is there any player or group of players that you want to see really take the reins, lead this thing to try to get it back on track?
Well, I'm not going to get into specifics. I mean, we just haven't played well collectively as a group. Some guys have done fine. I don't mean to say that everybody's done, but most of the guys just haven't played as well as they're capable of playing, and I think we all need to step it up.
Matt in the back.
How much input was there from ownership on this decision? Was this your decision, or was this a decision by ownership too?
No, this is my decision. You know, I always, of course, of this type of magnitude, you'd always include John Middleton ownership involved in it. I would never walk into John's office and just say, hey, John, so, you know, I made such and such trade, or I made such and such. But he leaves these decisions up to me. He's been like that since I've been here. And he would have supported, I believe, in fact, I'm sure, anything that we would have decided.
Any roster moves today?
Well, just one small one. We're activating Bolin, and we've optioned off Hoffman. And we're hopeful, that's the only move. We're hopeful that Duran will be ready in a couple days, but not quite ready yet.
Okay, Destiny.
Dave, should we assume that Alex Cora will be the manager at the end of this year?
No, you should not.
Okay, so we have Todd in the back.
Dave, big picture wise, what do you think of like the long-term health is of the organization, you know, in terms of player development, you know, just bringing new talent into the system? You know, right now, I mean, you called up Felix Reyes the other day. It seems like he was your only option, I guess, short-term impact guy. Maybe I don't even know if he's an impact guy, but you know what I'm saying. Just long-term health, organization, player development, drafting. How do you feel about that? Because that's going to be a big role in how this team performs this year and the next several years.
Sure. I feel great about it. I think it's very good. Now, when you say that about Reyes, he was the person that fit the role. So he's not the only guy that could have come up. We have other guys in various other positions we could bring up if we needed to. But, you know, we've just brought up two young guys in Justin Crawford and Andrew Painter. You know, Aiden Miller, I know, has had the back situation. We still feel he's really great. We think he has a chance to be a star player. We've got some real good positional players at the AA level that are young, that are off to quick starts this year. We got some pitching depth down below. We have a scouting director in Brian Barber that I think second to none in baseball. We really signed some good young players. I mean, we won't see them soon from internationally. So I feel real good about it. I think we're in a good shape. Now, part of it is, though, that when I say that, you mesh them in as your 9th place hitter or 8th place hitter in most cases, or your 5th starter. Our bullpen is pretty deep at this point. But you have to mesh them in with performing guys that are at the big league level. And I think that our starting pitching, for example, I think we should have a good starting pitching staff, and it's set up for years to be that way with some other guys coming. But we need to perform at the big league level in that regard, too.
If you do creep back into the wild card race by July, do you think you have enough talent to address a need? Maybe for a middle of the order bat, you have the talent in the system to kind of maybe do what you did last year, or you're going to.
Well, there's no doubt that we do, yes. Yeah, I get asked plenty about a lot of our players in our organization. And one thing that's changed, you talk about this, I've had trade conversations earlier than I ever have this year. Other clubs haven't been doing very well either. Clubs have called around. There's no question we have the talent. I'm not saying we're going to do that by any means, but there's no question we have that talent.
Take our last two. Go Jake and then John.
You said Rob 4 years ago when he was brought in was the right voice for the room at that time. The room at this point is built around many of the same people and players that were there 4 years ago. I'm curious, from your perspective, did the dynamic of the room change? Did the composition of Rob's message change? What kind of led to the disconnect maybe between the way that Rob was running the team or leading the team, managing the team, and what's going on in the clubhouse?
Well, first of all, I don't necessarily think it's a disconnect. I didn't use that word. But I thought a different voice. But I think, I don't know, just look at life. 4 years ago, where anybody was in life. Are you exactly the same? Are the structures exactly the same? Is the dynamics exactly the same? Things change. And sometimes clubs change, personnel changes. But not only personnel, but how they react to certain things. Sometimes they can get, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be okay, and sometimes it's not. So you just, sometimes dynamics change, and I think that's how life is, and I think we always need to adjust to what takes place over a time period, and it's just a different voice I think is better now.
Last one, John in front.
I was kind of going to ask something like that. Did you kind of lean on, when you were making this decision, what you did when you promoted Rob Thomson to manager, and in a way, does it create a sense of urgency or send a message to the players? And did you lean on that experience 4 years ago?
Well, I've made some, in doing this throughout the years, I've made quite a few changes throughout the years, and sometimes had a manager for a long time. I've had dear friends that I've let go as managers, and you react to how you think is the best thing to do at a particular moment. And I just think, I don't think you're making a move to send a message. I don't think you do those to do that. If a message is taken from it, that's fine. But I think the reality is you do it because you think it's the best thing to help your ball club and organization where you are right now and going into the future. And so for me, it's more a matter of just thinking it's the right thing to do at this time for us as we go forward.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, everyone. The Phillies clubhouse is now open. And again, a reminder, Don Mattingly will be available at 4 o'clock in the dugout, and Rob Thomson will be available via Zoom at 5 p.m. We will send out Zoom link and information shortly.